the fact that they've been in the position that they're in, not just to make the playoffs. Like, it's one thing if you're only fighting for a wild card spot. That's a damn good division. The Rams have played great football this year. I give a lot of credit to how Seattle's done this season with a new quarterback. So the fact that they're right in the mix for the division is a really big accomplishment.
All right, so let's start with the game, Niners-Titans, and I look at this as a huge contrast. Contrast in organizational stability, contrast in draft status. You know, you have the number one overall pick at quarterback on one side. You have the Mr. Irrelevant on the other side, making a boatload of money now. What are your big storylines, or maybe the big storyline heading into this game for you?
You know, I'm flipping through some of my notes, and I know San Francisco obviously is like the playoff chase is the biggest thing. That's the thing we lock into. We're in the last month of the season. Bears are playing in the early window. They're right there. What are the Eagles doing? What are the Lions doing? You know, Lions are playing at the same time. Seattle's playing at the same time. So it's like one of those kind of fun, you know, it's a double header weekend. So the Fox affiliate and the CBS affiliate both have two games. So it's like you get a full day of football to, you know, get the final month of the season going. And all these games and all these windows have like some kind of impact, and especially in the late window, because LA's playing Detroit. Both of those teams are directly involved with the, you know, the potential of San Francisco getting a spot or, you know, getting a seed. You know, Seattle's playing at the same time against Indianapolis, a team that San Francisco is going to see very shortly here. And what are they going to look like if Phillip Rivers is under center taking the snaps for that offense? I think that, you know, the Bears will play early. There's a lot of stuff going on. So just tracking all of that and kind of seeing just after the early window where the Niners are at. So what kind of weight do we have on this game? When we go into some of the deeper dive stuff, who wins field position in this game? The Niners have been winning field position a lot. You know, their special teams has been significantly better. What does the pass game look like? I feel like, I don't know if this is, do you guys feel like that the run game has given way to the pass game for this offense? Because I felt that early in the season when we saw him a couple times. It feels like the run game has kind of given way to, some of the short passing game, but it's been a lot of Brock Purdy since he's been back in the saddle.
Do you think the job that Kyle Shanahan is doing this year is flying under the radar nationally?
I do. I think the fact that you lose Warner and Bosa so early, Purdy's in and out, Pearsall's in and out, you know, you don't have Ayuk all season. I do think that you have to scheme into it, you know, and you have to help out. And that's not diminishing the talent of the players you've drafted or diminishing the talent of the quarterback that's taken the snaps when Brock's out of there. I thought Mac Jones did a heck of a job for the most part, you know, and won some games that maybe people weren't expecting him to, and played pretty well overall. And I think Kyle deserves a lot of credit for that because, again, you do have to play to the strengths. You do have to adjust some of the offensive mindset and how you're sequencing. Not only are the plays that we work on during the week, which is obviously, you know, where the chunk of the good stuff is going to come from, but how are you sequencing it? Because you've gotten used to a very specific way of, I think we do this on first down, this on second down. Let's hope we're in our best position third down, and here's our package of plays that we're going to use to stay on the field. And they've been able to do that through multiple quarterbacks, through multiple receivers. Kittle's been in and out, obviously, as sometimes is the case. So the fact that they've been in the position that they're in, not just to make the playoffs. Like, it's one thing if you're only fighting for a wild card spot. That's a damn good division. The Rams have played great football this year. I give a lot of credit to how Seattle's done this season with a new quarterback. So the fact that they're right in the mix for the division is a really big accomplishment. And I've always had appreciation for Kyle. I think most people who watch the Niners over the last, 6 years have an appreciation in some form or fashion for what he's done and how he's been able to do it with multiple quarterbacks, et cetera. But I think he deserves a lot of credit. I think Robert Saleh deserves a lot of credit. I don't know what this offseason is going to look like coaching-wise in terms of the landscape, but I do wonder if maybe Robert's a year ahead of schedule in terms of maybe trying to get back into the head coaching ranks if that's something that he desires to do. I figured it was going to be 2 good years in San Francisco. That'll almost guarantee you a spot, but with some of the way things are shaping out, I'll be curious to see what it looks like in a couple months.
I hope not. I hope he doesn't leave because,
sure.
I mean, like, you cover these games, and look, I follow this team religiously and have for my whole life. I can barely have any comprehension of who's coming on the field at any given time on defense. It's a bunch of no-namers. No, it really is. And no-namers isn't even accurate. It's literal practice squad players.
I know what you mean.
And they're down to their third string middle linebacker. They're down to defensive linemen that they picked off of practice squads. As someone who prepares for these games, how unique is this thing that Robert's doing on defense with these guys that no one's ever heard of?
I'm looking at Garrett Wallo, who I've got on my notes. You guys get him for the Denver squad. That's not a guy that
I'll write that one down. Didn't even know that, Adam. Thank you.
Curtis Robinson, who again I saw at Stanford. I remember going and covering Curtis Robinson when he was playing at Stanford. And I'm looking at this guy now. It's like, all right, well, he's played all special teams basically until middle of this season when Fred gets hurt. He's barely played in his 4 years, played something like, 18 games in his first 3 seasons or something like that. So it's like, all right, this guy barely sees the field. He's jumping on the field, and now here he is playing key minutes. Tatum Bethune, a guy who comes in out of the 7th round. He's had to play. I think he's hurt this week, but you're looking at a lot of guys that have had to play key snaps over the course of the season, and you're bringing Cleveland Ferrell back, and you're giving Keon White some opportunities. So I'm very impressed. And listen, the scheme has to change. We just talked about it with Kyle. Give credit to Robert Saleh too. The last 3 weeks, they've decided it is a much better option for us to watch you make a mistake on offense because we're going to force you to drive down the field. You are not beating us over the top. We're playing quarters. You're not going to get a big play against our defense in a pass situation. If our 4-man rush can give you any type of push, we get you into any second or third and long, awesome. We're going to get the ball back. We're going to win field position. Again, we just mentioned the special teams, how much better they've been winning the field position battle for both the offense and the defense. I think this is it is complementary football. By the way, the Titans are coming off a game where they finally played complementary football. It's a formula that works. Everybody plays into everything else. This sport has as much of a domino effect from top to bottom, from section to section, from unit to unit. There is more of a domino effect in this sport than there is in just about anything we watch in North America. A pitcher can dominate an offense. One hitter can change the course of the game with a couple of great swings. But individuals can make something happen. It's such a domino effect with result from start to finish over 150 snaps or whatever the heck we watch. That you have to play into scheme. And I give both these play callers, in Kyle and Robert, a lot of credit for how they've been able to use the personnel that they have, but decide what's going to give us the best probability, and let's play into that. And I think they're playing 45% quarters over the last 3-game win streak or something like that.
Yeah, they've changed a lot. We had 2 different safeties to start the year. They're working in Jair Brown and Mustafa. Brown was playing in the slot. They've been all over the place. You referenced Curtis Robinson. He's been cut 7 or 8 times from the team. It's crazy to see him make plays. How does Drew view Purdy? I don't want you to speak on his behalf, but I'm sure you have opinions on Brock Purdy. And I just wonder if you've had any conversations with Drew on how he views Brock Purdy's game. Because people do hey, he's short, he's accurate. Even though their game's very, very different, we do this thing, short quarterback, doesn't have the biggest arm, super accurate. They link them together. I wonder what Drew sees in Brock Purdy.
That's something we want to explore for sure on air, because I do want people to hear what his thought process is behind it, where he does evaluate. We've seen some young QBs, we just had Bryce Young. I really wanted to know what Drew thought, right? Because that's a really similar comparison. Short QB, what does it take to be at the level that Drew was for as long as he was? And literally second greatest statistical quarterback of all time. You can make the argument behind Brady. So there's longevity there. He adjusted his game. Drew, kind of went to more of a shorter and intermediate passing game as he got further along in his career and saved deep balls for, a couple fewer times in a game. He said footwork and mechanics have to be immaculate. When you are not as big, when you are a little bit shorter, your footwork and timing has to be mechanical and consistent. And I think that's something we can say about Brock. His mechanics, especially for a guy that's had an elbow injury, he's had to make adjustments. And he has to be on it when it comes to how he approaches playing the position. He has to be very sharp. So I think one of the big things I've heard since Brock has been back has been like his movement in the pocket, right? Like being able to maneuver, he continues to avoid sacks. Well, you can't just do that by moving laterally. You have to have good footwork and mechanics to move up, climb up in the pocket. That's something that Drew talks a lot about. He's like, you can't move around all the time laterally. You're going to have to avoid, the Myles Garretts of the world. You're playing a pretty good guy, Jeffrey Simmons. I think Jeffrey gets a little overlooked sometimes because, again, he plays for a 2-win team, and it's not been a lot of success the last couple of years. I think we forget that dude's a dude, right? Mm-hmm. So you're going to have to move around a little bit laterally, but more often than not, your best results are going to come when you're climbing up in the pocket through some of the traffic. So your footwork in all of those situations has to be really good. I've always thought, I think Drew has the same sense, that Brock's footwork and his mechanics, I'm not saying are perfect, but they're very consistent. What are you going to do? He goes, when things break down, what are you going to lean on? And every quarterback has to have some kind of footwork mechanic that they can just lean back on and go, all right, things are breaking down. Let me take my 3-step hitch or my 1-step hitch throw, rip this intermediate route. Let's get rid of the ball. Or, hey, let's go back to my check down footwork, pat, adjust, shoulder, toss, and make it accurate so that what Christian McCaffrey's been doing all year can make a play in the passing game in space and make guys miss at a rate that is better than just about any running back in the league right now. So I think that's where Drew sits. I think that's where his line of thinking is right now.